Good morning, everyone. Happy Saturday. It's 6:30 a.m. Price of Bitcoin currently at 59.05. I just wanted to pay the bills real quick and let you guys know that again, we are offering the Cryptosomniac Advantage membership. If you go to the cryptosomniac.com website, hit the products page right there, and you could buy the membership right here. And in this membership, you get 2-a-day Bitcoin analysis videos like the one you're seeing right now, except the one in the evening typically covers some deeper analysis as well as trade outlook on what trades we're sitting in, how they're looking, how we need to position ourselves, etc. Okay. We also have these chat channels right here where you could discuss, things that you're struggling with in trading, the suggestions that you would like me to implement. We have a general, community discussion, discussion of alts and BTC. Okay. And as I've said before, in the announcements, all right, we have Forex options in oil starting April. Okay. So starting April, you will get not only crypto and equities announcements like we have right here. Okay. And by the way, if you're not familiar with our equities analyst, Faisal, he is brilliant and he does an amazing job at giving you guys the outlook of the landscape in the equity markets. Okay. So, it's really just fantastic, overall macro perspective of how the markets look from the standpoint of Bitcoin analysis as well as the stock market analysis. Okay, because as you guys very well know, the stock market has been moving, toe to toe with, or rather, I guess Bitcoin has been moving toe to toe with the stock market, right? So it's been really helpful to have an analyst like Faisal to show you guys a rundown of exactly what we're seeing in the markets, how Fed interest rates are being affected, how the high growth, high momentum stocks are looking. So these are all things, coupled with, Bitcoin, give you a good knowledge and understanding of how the overall field of the markets is looking. Okay. So again, go to cryptosomniac.com, hit the products page, get the Advantage membership, and you'll not only get the live equities updates, but you will get 2-a-days videos. You'll get trade setups right here, where we pretty much put out a trade almost every day, sometimes twice a day. And then, we have these spot buy positions that we pick up often. And then on top of that, like I said, we will have the Forex options and oil starting April 1st. Okay. With that being said, let's get to the analysis. All right. So folks, since yesterday, it's been a crazy, wild ride of events. Yesterday we were pretty much in this particular area right here. I guess that would be 2 days ago. But 2 days ago, we were in this particular area right here, and then we pushed up all the way to 69.35 by yesterday morning. And then by evening time, we hit all the way down to 56.75 right here, which was the 50 fib of this low and this high. And so now we're kind of sitting on key support right here, okay, just below the 382 fib. All right. Now I'll tell you why our community, okay, decided to get into a short position with, we have a 61.50, some have a $6,200 average in the short position, somewhere around here. And I'll let you know exactly why we're short. Okay, so first things first, I really didn't believe that this whole movement was the start of a new bullish cycle. Okay, and I'll tell you why, first of all. Okay, number one, all right, when prices like Bitcoin, let's go to the daily here. Okay, when prices of Bitcoin, which are speculative assets, high risk assets, right? When they sell off like this, especially in an environment that is pretty much clouded and run by exogenous events like the coronavirus, like the economy potentially entering recession, it's usually these assets that start seeing the most downside. Okay, and so when you see a downside like this, right? Of course, you're going to have a big spike up rally like this, all right? Because this is just, it's the sort of karmic event that you get when you sell off too aggressively on one end, right? So you get a quick bounce back rally like this, okay? This bounce back rally like this is usually to get people excited into this area, because more often than not, okay, sellers who did not get an opportunity to sell, at higher prices are now looking for a bounce back rally to get out of their positions. Okay, and so in this particular instance, right, in this bounce back rally right here, the sellers are looking to get out, and on top of that, they're looking to go short. Okay, so while most people are getting excited right here, our community was essentially patient and just waiting for good short opportunities. Now, granted, we took some small scalp longs up here, but we got out because for the most part, number one, we sized down on long positions very aggressively, right? So we're heavily sizing down on our long positions. And on top of that, we're not even aiming for larger targets, okay? We're maybe aiming for $50, $100 movements here and there. Versus our short positions are actually larger size and we're aiming for larger movements. So for example, if you go into this channel right here, I'm aiming, in terms of my short position, I'm aiming for bigger targets below, 4,800, 4,300, 3,600, and $2,900, okay? Now again, I know that sounds crazy to start talking about those targets again, but just remember that we were just there last week, okay? And this pushback up, right, to me was really a false rally, or rather, a hopium rally for getting more people trapped, okay? So now that we're coming down again, right, we've actually broken down below key levels. So number one, if we were to stay bullish, right, we would have had stayed above this area right here, okay? And that, if you look back over here, was a high around 62.33. This key high right here was important because we smashed through it, right? So what we should have done is we tested it as support and then kept moving up, okay? But we're not doing that. We spent pretty much the last 12 hours or so, or I guess 13 hours now, under the 62.33 marker. So it looks to me like this thing is definitely wanting to head down even further. Okay, if you're a fib player, we should have bounced off the 382 at the very most, the 50 fib and kept moving up. Didn't do that, right? It looks like we just keep wanting to bleed down further. Now, the next big level that I'm watching right now to consider adding onto my position, okay, would be something like this, okay? So we went like this, right? We're breaking down. The next big area is this area right here, the high of this range. If you test this area as resistance like this and start selling off, all right, that would be a fantastic shorting opportunity, or to add to your short position. Like I said, we're already positioned, short from 6,200 or almost, 6,150 or so, okay? Now the high of this range is important because remember, on the first bounce right here, okay, this is how you create trading ranges. You grab the bottom as bottom of the bounce as the bottom of the trading range, and you grab the first top that was created as the top of the trading range. Okay, so that's this high around 58.79 and this low around $3,600 or so. Okay, so between $3,600 and 58.79, all right, we are now seeing price come back and try to test the top of the trading range. Now, it's very possible that we bounce off the top of the trading range, and from here we start taking off, and that would be the bullish scenario. But remember that we've already hammered this area, with this deep wick once. Now we're coming back to it again, okay? So it's very possible that on the next, 4 to 8 hours, we keep bleeding back under this area, okay? And once you start seeing this area crack, I would feel much more comfortable shorting this, okay? So that's kind of where we are. I personally think this is going to break down. All these X's that you see are long liquidity, okay? Meaning longs are sitting here to defend their positions, and I think they're gonna probably get torched in the next couple of days. I do think Bitcoin needs to have one more leg down before it potentially pushes back up, if it does push back up. If not, I think it's very possible that, from here, if Bitcoin does bounce right off this top of the trading range, it could go higher. Okay, it could go back towards, $6,500, $6,600 or so. But I just don't see it right now, given the overall macro environment of, the equities market selling, gold selling. Even I thought this was really interesting. I mentioned this, right? So if you look at this, right, even the 10-year treasury notes, which are some of the safest, T-notes, some of the safest bonds in the world, folks, these are selling as well. The only thing that's going up is the US dollar. The US dollar is actually going up. Why? Because everyone wants to get into cash. Everyone wants to get into safe haven. And so why do I look at the US dollar? Well, it's the strongest currency in the world. It's almost 85% of the currency for the US dollar is utilized across the world. Okay, people see it as a peg because the dollar strength is almost pegged to the American economy. Okay, the American resolve, if you will. Okay, so people around the world are betting that, hey, I'd rather have even US dollars versus my own local currency. Okay, and another way to gauge the strength of the US dollar currency is if you compare and compare its strength to other currencies like the Great British Pound. Okay, so look, even the dollar has been taking off against the pound. Okay, let's look at the Aussie dollar. Okay, boom, taking off everywhere. I mean, wherever you look, right? South African rand, boom, taking off. Okay, Colombian peso, taking off right there. Let's see, Japanese yen, taking off. And by the way, we had a Forex set up for the yen. Hit my target perfectly for a nice 2.5% gain. So anyway, again, dollar has been gaining strength like crazy. And I think it's really off of most people's radar to understand that the macro understanding of what does it mean when the dollar moves up? What does it mean when, US oil is going, down consistently? What does it mean when the 10-year treasury notes are also selling, right? So these are the things that we explain in our community on a day-to-day basis, so you understand the macro picture. This isn't like you having to be a monkey and just buying or selling when we tell you we're taking a trade. Okay, I'm not here to teach you that. All right, I'm here to actually educate you and show you how to read the macro picture of the markets. Because remember, folks, this is something that you will take with you for the rest of your life, right? Once you start understanding how all these markets are correlated with each other, how one impacts the other, you've pretty much understood the game, right? None of it will be esoteric to you. So once you understand how markets, sway with one another, and they're synchronous with, one market kind of bleeding into the other in terms of its impact, you realize that it's really kind of a game. Okay, so with that being said, Bitcoin is also part of the game in that it is a speculative asset. High risk, speculative assets get sold off first and much harder. Okay, so in this particular case, let's just say, we were speculating on the fact that Bitcoin goes down over the weekend. Okay, so if Bitcoin goes down over the weekend, I could almost say with higher degree of certainty that the stock market opening Monday will probably have an impact as well. Doesn't mean it will go down that much, but just means that the players who are in Bitcoin, especially, say high net worth individuals, some institutions, they will realize that the markets look like, say for example, the futures markets. So if we picked up, say, ES, right, which is the E-mini futures for the S&P 500. Okay, so say for example, there were some people who were looking at the E-mini futures for the S&P 500 over the weekend, right? And they saw that, okay, it looks like, come Saturday or Sunday, the E-mini futures are starting to sell off. That means they'll sell off BTC much harder because they know that the stock market Monday is probably going to sell off even further because the futures are anticipating a sell-off. So you could see how it's a cycle, right? Futures dictate weakness in the stock market, and once people start seeing weakness in the stock market, they'll start selling high-risk assets like Bitcoin, and then that will translate into S&P 500 and maybe other stocks starting to open red on Monday. Okay, so it's a huge cycle, and once you understand it, it really becomes fun, right? So anyway, folks, I am short position. I am short bias still. These are the levels that you can look out for if you want to take profit as per fibs. Aside from that, there's really not a whole lot else to talk about. I think Ethereum itself is also looking very weak. Okay, so here's ETH right here. ETH did the same thing, took out the wick high over here, which is the range high, just like Bitcoin did right here. That was a range high. And now, it obviously looks like it wants to head down further. I think Ethereum is going to be in a lot of trouble. I think ETH is at the very least, I think it's going to hit $80. And I think, if we start going back on, say, a weekly time frame, I think it's got much more downside ahead. At the very most, I think it could hit, almost $42 or so. Okay. It could go down further, but I would probably say $42 is, probably where I would say we find a good amount of support. Okay. So from where we are right now, right, $42 is another 66% drop. Okay. That's a pretty steep drop. All right. So, and another thing is, I told my community members yesterday that here's sort of my final straw for Bitcoin. Okay, here's where I think that Bitcoin will end its bleed. Okay, or rather should. It would be this area right here, which is a 2013 November high. That's right around, let's just say $1,200 or so. Okay, that's where I personally think Bitcoin will head off into, and it will potentially bounce. Okay, that is my final line in the sand for Bitcoin. Any lower, and I would probably say Bitcoin is in big trouble for the future. I still think that even if it bounces off $1,200 or so, I think it'll be just fine. I think it'll be okay. I think prices could still be held up over the next several months or years, even if it bounces off $1,200. Okay, so that's kind of where I'm at. Where people say it's very simple to understand, right? When it comes to SR levels, but people ignore this key resistance that could be support when we come back to it, whenever we do over the next several weeks or several months. Okay. So that's, that $1,200 target. All right. Again, I'm not saying it has to happen, but that would be my final, line in the sand that it should hold, it must hold. Okay. All right, folks, that's it. You have the analysis, you have my insight. You know where to go in terms of Cryptosomniac. Make sure you join, folks. Make sure you join Cryptosomniac before we start implementing these channels, because once we start implementing, we're going to raise the prices. So make sure you're grandfathered in to the lower prices that we have right now, because prices will go up because we're adding more services, right? All right, that's it. Y'all take care. Have a good rest of the weekend and stay safe.